There's a corner of the Atlantic where the rules of logic seem to vanish, a place where radio signals fade into silence, compasses lose their minds, and entire crews disappear as if swallowed by the sea itself. For decades, the Bermuda Triangle has haunted sailors, pilots, and scientists alike. A patch of ocean that stretches from Florida to Bermuda to Puerto Rico, and yet feels endless. Welcome to 5 Things and Facts. If you love strange facts and mysteries, hit that like button and subscribe. Today we explore the top 5 most chilling mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle, each story layered with clues, unanswered questions, and scientific theories that blur the line between the real and the impossible. 5. Flight 19, the mission that never returned. It was December 5th, 1945. The war had ended just months before, and for most of the world, peace had returned. But for 5 U.S. Navy bombers flying over the Atlantic that day, peace would never come. At 2:10 p.m., 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, call sign Flight 19, lifted off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Their mission was simple: fly east for a few hours, practice bombing runs, and return to base before dusk. Routine, predictable, but within 2 hours, something went wrong. At 3:45, the control tower received a confused transmission. "This is FT-28. Both my compasses are out. I'm not sure where we are." The voice belonged to Lieutenant Charles Taylor, a veteran pilot with over 2,500 flying hours. Yet his tone was strange, uncertain, almost dazed. Other pilots tried to correct him. "Just fly west, sir. The sun will lead us back to Florida." But Taylor hesitated. "We can't see land." Everything looked strange, even the ocean. As daylight faded, the 5 bombers vanished from radar. A massive search began. One of the first rescue aircraft, a PBM Mariner flying boat, took off at 7:27 p.m. 20 minutes later, it too disappeared. Witnesses on a nearby tanker saw a fiery explosion in the sky, then nothing but smoke and darkness. Over the next 5 days, more than 300 aircraft and ships scoured the sea. They found nothing. No oil slick, no debris, no bodies. In total, 6 planes and 27 men had vanished, the largest non-combat loss in naval aviation history at the time. The Navy's final report read, "Cause unknown, but there's more to this story than bad navigation." Several officers at Fort Lauderdale later testified that Taylor had seemed distracted and uneasy before the flight, complaining his compasses weren't working right. Even stranger, meteorological records show a sudden, localized storm formed exactly in the area Flight 19 was last heard. A formation so fast that radar couldn't detect it. Years later, pieces of wreckage matching W-era aircraft were found near the Bahamas, but none belonged to Flight 19. In 1986, divers discovered 5 Avengers buried under sand in the Florida Keys, but serial numbers again failed to match. It was another lost squadron entirely. 6 planes, 6 vanishings, and not one clear explanation. Some blame simple human error, Taylor flying east instead of west. Others suspect malfunctioning magnetic fields. But a growing number of pilots who've flown through the area claim that electronic systems glitched there unlike anywhere else, a dead zone of time and space. Maybe Flight 19 wasn't lost at all. Maybe it entered something. For the USS Cyclops, the ship that vanished without a sound. Long before planes disappeared in the Triangle, ships were already being swallowed. In March 1918, during World War I, the U.S. Navy cargo ship USS Cyclops left Brazil bound for Baltimore, carrying 309 men and over 10,000 tons of manganese ore. It was a massive vessel, 540 feet long, one of the largest ships in the American fleet. On March 4th, the ship made a brief stop in Barbados. The last message it sent was simple: "Weather fair. All well." Then silence, no SOS, no distress call, no wreckage, nothing. When it failed to arrive, the Navy launched an extensive search. Not a single trace was found. No debris, no oil slick, no survivors. The ship and all aboard had vanished completely. The mystery deepened as investigators dug into the captain's background. George Worley, the commanding officer, was known as erratic and temperamental. Crew members reported he often wandered barefoot on deck at night, mumbling in German, though he was American-born. Some accused him of disloyalty. Others whispered of madness. The ship's cargo added another layer of suspicion. thousands of tons of dense ore that could have destabilized the hull in rough seas. Yet the weather that week was calm. No storm, no wave strong enough to sink a steel leviathan in seconds. But here's where the story takes a chilling turn. The Cyclops wasn't the only ship of her class to disappear. Two of her sister ships, the Proteus and Nereus, vanished years later, both in nearly the same area, both carrying the same type of cargo, and both without sending a distress call. 3 identical ships, 3 identical vanishings. Was it a design flaw, a chain of coincidences, or something the Navy refused to admit? Modern researchers suggest that a magnetic or gravitational anomaly could have interfered with the ship's navigational equipment. Others propose sudden methane gas eruptions, massive underwater bursts that could have reduced water density, pulling the ship down in seconds. But perhaps the most haunting theory came from sailors themselves. They said the sea around the triangle sometimes hums, a low vibration you can feel in your bones before the weather changes. Some crews believed it was the sound of the ocean breathing, as if alive. The Cyclops left no evidence. Not even sonar mapping in the 2000s has revealed a wreck. For 309 men, the ocean became a tomb with no marker, a silence that still echoes through naval history. 3. The compass mystery. When North disappears, the Bermuda Triangle is not just a graveyard of metal and bone. It's also a place where reality itself seems to bend. Since the days of early navigation, sailors have reported that their compasses spin wildly or freeze altogether inside the triangle. It's one of only 2 places on Earth where magnetic north and true north align perfectly, a line of invisible tension that can confuse even the best instruments. To 15th century explorers, this was witchcraft. To modern scientists, it's an electromagnetic puzzle. During the 1960s, the US Navy launched Project Magnet to study unusual magnetic readings reported in the triangle. Over 30 missions were flown. Results came back inconsistent, but one finding stood out: the presence of localized magnetic pulses, brief but intense disruptions capable of wiping out entire navigation systems for seconds at a time. In 1970, private pilot Bruce Gernon took off from Andros Island with 2 passengers flying toward Florida. Halfway through, he saw a formation of clouds unlike anything he'd ever encountered, a perfect circular tunnel. As he entered it, his instruments failed. Static filled the radio. The horizon vanished into a glowing fog that seemed to spiral endlessly. Then in an instant he was out, and Miami was below him. His 75-minute flight had taken just 30. His radar trace showed he had disappeared from detection for over 10 minutes. To skeptics, it's just a case of faulty memory. But to others, it's the most credible first-hand account of a phenomenon pilots still call electronic fog. Some physicists propose that charged clouds in the area could trap electromagnetic fields, creating what amounts to a natural plasma tunnel, distorting space, time, and instruments alike. If that sounds like science fiction, remember that lightning itself is plasma, and the triangle is one of the most lightning-active zones on Earth. Yet, there's a darker pattern. Compass failures there often precede disappearances. In 1956, a DC-3 passenger plane vanished on approach to Miami. Its final transmission? Compass acting up. Can't see the lights. No wreckage was found. In 1963, a pair of tanker ships radioed that their compasses were oscillating seconds before vanishing from radar. Both messages were sent from nearly the same coordinates. No matter how advanced technology becomes, the triangle seems to reach into the instruments that define human certainty and pull them apart. 2. The Ellen Austin, the ghost ship that sailed twice. The story of the Ellen Austin is one of those that sounds too cinematic to be real, and yet it's recorded in maritime archives. In 1881, the British merchant ship Ellen Austin was crossing from London to New York when her lookout spotted another vessel drifting slowly under full sail. The ship was seaworthy, undamaged but eerily silent. No crew appeared on deck. Captain Baker ordered a boarding party. What they found chilled them. Meals still on tables, papers scattered in the captain's cabin, personal belongings untouched. The ship's log ended abruptly 2 days earlier, with no mention of distress. It was as though her crew had simply stepped out and never returned. Believing it might be a derelict prize, Baker decided to place a new crew aboard to sail it alongside the Ellen Austin. For 2 days, both ships moved in formation. Then a sudden storm separated them. When the skies cleared, the mysterious ship was gone. Days later, Baker sighted it again, still adrift, still empty. The crew he had sent aboard had vanished as well. Some versions say he sent a second team. The same fate followed. Others claim both ships were lost afterward, though records suggest the Ellen Austin completed her voyage. Skeptics argue the story was exaggerated in retellings. Yet shipping logs confirm that the Ellen Austin did encounter an unidentified derelict near Bermuda that year, and that strange atmospheric conditions were reported during the same weak. Sailors who later crossed the same route spoke of hearing voices in the fog, faint calls for help that faded as quickly as they came. Whether hallucinations or echoes, no one knows. To this day, no definitive identity has ever been assigned to the derelict. It remains one of the Atlantic's most haunting mysteries, a tale where the living meet the dead and the sea refuses to give up its ghosts. 1. Methane hydrates. When science meets the unknown after centuries of speculation, aliens, time warps, underwater cities, scientists began searching for a natural explanation. And what they found beneath the Bermuda seabed might be the most terrifying truth of all. In the 1990s, geologists studying the North Atlantic discovered vast deposits of methane hydrate, a frozen form of gas trapped under layers of sediment. When pressure or temperature changes destabilize these deposits, the gas can erupt violently, forming giant bubbles that rise through the water like invisible bombs. Here's what happens next. Water density drops. A ship floating above suddenly finds no support. It sinks instantly, swallowed whole, leaving no debris. Tests in controlled tanks have proven the effect. When methane bubbles rise in concentrated volumes, large objects lose buoyancy, as if the ocean itself had turned to air. In the Triangle, where tectonic microshifts and underwater landslides are common, such eruptions could happen without warning. But the theory grows darker when you realize what methane can do above the surface. Once it breaks free into the atmosphere, it can form massive, invisible clouds. If an aircraft flies through them, engines can stall from oxygen depletion, and fuel can ignite from static discharge. Could this explain why some flights vanished without sending distress calls? Why radio signals died mid-sentence? Why even modern planes with GPS still report electronic interference? In 2015, Norwegian scientists discovered giant craters off the coast of Greenland, identical to those predicted by methane blowouts. Some measured half a mile wide. When sonar scanned parts of the Bermuda seabed years later, similar formations were found near the edge of the tongue of the ocean, a deep underwater trench that aligns perfectly with the Triangle's infamous disappearances. And yet, this theory doesn't solve everything. It can't explain why ships and planes sometimes vanish in perfect weather, or why instruments fail even when no gas is detected. Maybe the Triangle is not one phenomenon, but many are natural and psychological, magnetic and human, overlapping in a single cursed region of sea. What makes the Bermuda Triangle terrifying is not just what might happen there, but how much of it we still don't understand. From lost squadrons to vanished ships, from ghostly compasses to storms that twist reality, the Bermuda Triangle remains one of the last true enigmas of our planet. Every generation brings new technology, and yet the disappearances continue, rare, but never fully gone. Perhaps someday a deep-sea expedition will find the wreck of Flight 19 or the hull of the Cyclops resting in silence. Until then, the ocean holds its secrets tight, a vast reminder that even in the age of satellites, there are still places where the Earth refuses to be mapped. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing Top 5s. Because sometimes, the strangest truths are the ones still waiting beneath the waves.